Are you ready to start living a more confident, successful, and safe life, regardless of what's going on in the world or what has happened in your past? Then you're at the right place at the right time. The FemV Podcast, where we bring you content and guests to help you focus on moving forward as the powerful you that you were truly meant to be. So welcome to FemV. Hello, everybody. Well, I think we're on. I'm still figuring out the delay between me clicking the button. I'm doing that thing where I can hear me. Sorry, everybody. This is, as you may or may not know, the first time we've done this as an interview. As a more than two-person thing, which I told you I was going to do, and sure enough, we're doing it. But yeah, there's still the figuring out thing. So here we are. Get my other screen up because Chelsea Adams here, PhD. Her name is not Chelsea Adams here. It's Chelsea Adams. Anyway, she's going to share some really cool stuff with you that we're going to get to in a few minutes. So today, I'm just super happy that you guys are here, whether you're here live or whether you're here watching the replay, because today is our first interview, which I've said I was going to start doing, remember? And when I talked to Chelsea about it, she was excited and she was immediately ready to jump in and help me as I continue to bring stuff to everyone, to all of you, that helps you be safer, that helps you be more confident, that helps you believe in yourself more, and that helps you insulate yourself from any sort of violence or abuse. And Chelsea, who we have here today, I'm super happy. She's going to be here with us for three episodes. So this week, today, next week, and then we're skipping a week and the week after. And we're going to talk about women and money and how you can use money, what you can do with your own money and your own finances to, first of all, prevent yourself from being financially abused. And the next week, we're going to talk about what happens if that's already going on in your life. And then in our next session, we are going to talk about how to recover after getting out of a bad situation like that. So, Chelsea, thanks for being here. I'm excited that you're here.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to get to present and to be the first guest. What an honor.
You're not only the first guest, you're going to be the second guest too.
Yeah.
So great. Chelsea has, she's actually a friend of mine. So, sometimes you see people on shows and like, oh, my friend so-and-so, and maybe they've only met him once. Chelsea and I actually know each other. And she is a financial planner. She's smart. She knows what she's doing. She's personable. She's easy to talk to. And she's really surprising. I mean, she does some cool stuff that I would not have guessed. Chelsea, can I say about the dancing thing?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. She is not only is it ballroom, swing?
So yeah, swing, social dancing, like West Coast swing is what I was doing last night. DJ'd for West Coast dance last night. Yeah.
Nice. So not only does she do that, she also teaches that and DJs music for it. Is that right?
I DJ music for West Coast swing and I teach blues dances. So yes, awesome. A lot of social dancing, partner dancing. So it's a lot of fun.
Look at that. She's a real person. So yeah, I'm super excited that she's here. And today what we're going to talk about is what you can do to prevent your, prevention's kind of a tough word there. It can help prevent. We're learn how you can insulate yourself by being smart financially before anything bad ever happens. And like I said, Chelsea's a financial planner. She knows what she's doing. And I'm fixing my other screen too. So I'm not over here playing mahjong on the other screen. One of the things, if Chelsea, if you're okay sharing, when I told everyone, or when I started talking about doing these interviews, it was about women who have either overcome trauma or abuse in their life and have made their way out of it and are now successfully living, thriving in their life, or women who are doing things that can help other women find more confidence, find more safety, and find more belief in themselves. And you're actually in both of those categories. Would you share a little bit about why what we're doing is important to you?
Yeah, I think it's really important to me that we look at financial abuse in particular, but just like abuse prevention and escape type plans. Because when I was young and I was, like late teenager, I had been sexually assaulted and then decided like, oh, it's going to be fine, whatever, and married that man, and ended up in an abusive relationship, which finances were a part of that. And I didn't have access to what I needed, or feel like I had freedom to go do. And as things started to escalate, realizing that I needed to get out was a difficult thing. But I did have a support group there to help me. And I know there's a lot of women who aren't that lucky. They don't have supportive family or friends or people in their life that can help them get away and out of that situation. So I was lucky and was able to get back in school and build the life I wanted to build and find people that were good people and learn that, not all men, to use that phrase, but that not all men were like that there are some really, really good people in the world. And dancing was actually a big part of that journey for me to get my education, get my doctorate, and study some really cool things, and then end up, working to help women and educate women about things like financial wellness and stability and independence is really important to me.
That's awesome. I'm so happy that you got out of that situation. And not only that, but I mean, you grabbed the handlebars of your life and drove back to where you wanted to be. So that's awesome. And I think a lot of people, when they hear of domestic violence, they're thinking about physical violence, physical abuse. But I mean, there's a whole lot of ways that domestic abuse shows up. I mean, what are some of the other ways? I mean, we've already mentioned financial abuse. Actually, let's just do a couple of quick things of saying, what does financial abuse look like? And we'll get into this more next week, but just kind of to get everybody started, what can financial abuse look like, so that it's one of those things women might not even realize is happening to them right off the bat?
Yes, I think that one of the hard things about financial abuse is that we don't know what it is until all of a sudden we don't have access to funds we need, which is kind of the last step, right? Which is that we have no access to anything we want to do. Financial abuse is really where we are in a relationship and one person makes all the decisions, controls that, and doesn't let you have a voice. And that is kind of the overarching, meaning that can look like a lot of things. That can look like I have no access to a bank account and I'm given an allowance every month. That can look like, you're not allowed to buy certain things without my permission. And if you spend over a certain dollar amount, right, we've got problems. That can be I don't allow you access to credit cards, or that can be as severe as I'm opening up credit cards in your name and using your social security number and running up debt in your name and leaving it there to ruin your credit so you can't get out of this marriage or this relationship. You rely on that person for finance, so you have to go back. And there are a number of other ways, but it gets more and more insidious, really, because it starts out just like, oh, let me handle that. That's fine. I can do it. And if you're not regularly communicating, if it becomes that more manipulative and isolating factor to get you away from the people and support groups that care about you, it's one of the most effective ways to keep victims in abusive relationships.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's so awful that it can start like that. I'll take care of this. I'll take care of you. And it's really just removing your access to your funds. And it's a way of getting control over you as a spouse or as a girlfriend or as whatever the relationship is. So taking away your access to money makes you more dependent on that abusive partner. And that can also include like taking away your access to your social life.
Yes, because so much of what you do with friends, like going out to eat at a bar or, having a fun night on the town or a spa day, those types of things require money, and it requires access without being worried that somebody's looking over your shoulder at every dime you're spending.
Right. So that, you can spend up to $12 when you go out with your friends, but not $1 more, or there's trouble, right?
Mm-hmm. And it can be over amounts that small.
Yeah, which really is just so controlling, what we want to do here is on today's episode is to look at what do you do to get yourself financially capable before being out there. I mean, maybe you can start doing this in school, right? In junior high or high school, or if you're heading off to college, or if you've never done it before. The best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago, second best time today, right? So yeah, that's it. Same goes with getting yourself financially prepared to take care of yourself. And the more that you have put together before you start getting into relationships, the more capable you are of taking care of your own finances and of recognizing if someone you're dating or marrying or whatever is actually trying to manipulate you with your own finances. So, and by the way, if you're on Facebook watching this, feel free to comment. If you'd like to interact with us, you need to pop over into the FemVincible Women and Allies group, and there is a live link there to pop you onto the Zoom, and we'll do live Q&A at the end of this. So if you're not a member, you need to be joining, right? So yeah, we're going to talk about how to start preparing yourself. And like I say, this works at any age, and you can start preparing regardless of how much money you make. Whether you're pulling in 8 figures, that'd be nice, right? Or whether you're pulling in 4 figures, there's always a way to start building up your finances so that you can have that protective financial insulation to be able to take care of yourself. And Chelsea's going to give us, I need to make sure that you can screen share, don't I?
Yep.
And also, we're going to plug in some links that Chelsea shared with me, really good links about, let's see, that one, there we go. Some great links about financial abuse and economic abuse, and we'll be posting those later. And if you want to connect with Chelsea, please do. We're actually going to post a link, I believe, a little bit later. I don't know if it'll be in this episode or the next one, but she has a great seminar or webinar that goes in depth on a lot of this. So we're going to make that available too, because there's no way we're going to talk about everything we need to, in 3 episodes of 30 to 40 minutes each. So anyway, let's see. We've got our slideshow showing. I'm going to have to change my screen around because I want to make sure that's being recorded too. I wonder how I do that. I know what I'm going to do. Yay. Sorry, everybody, but I'm going to make this work. It's going to work for us. Okay. Because I want to make sure that we've got this, ready for next time as well. I mean, if I'm probably going to start putting these over on my YouTube channel too, to make sure people have access to them. All right, Chelsea, get us going here.
All right, so I'll just start out here. Again, Chelsea Adams, PhD. I'm a financial advisor. These are the disclosures. We're not going to talk about individual stocks or anything like that, and I can't give individualized tax or legal advice. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an accountant. So if you do have more specific questions, just keeping that in mind, is that live, I cannot make specific recommendations to people, but if you have questions that are more accounting or legal based, talk to a lawyer, talk to an accountant. And with that taken care of, I do want to step into saying there are steps to help you become more financially independent, which is honest, the best way. It seems like, I've heard the idea that I need to know my finances a million times, but a lot of what gets us into situations of financial abuse are that we do just want somebody else to take care of it, or we've never actually thought about our own money and how we spend it, and the basic vehicles of saving and planning for the future. Many of us been taught, like, you get married and then you handle that in the marriage, or just never really had a family member, parent, friend sit down and help us with these things. So today we're going to more be talking about the budget basics and savings basics. And then in our third series episode, we're going to be talking more about the financial planning and the investing side to help you recover and make your way out. But these steps are really important now as well. So we'll start with the budgeting basics, which is understanding really how you spend money and how to save money. There are really 2 parts of spending, or a budget, which is spending and saving, but spending has these 2 categories, which is your groceries, your household items, your rent, your utilities, what hobbies you spend time on, and things like personal care and gifts, things that come up every month. Some of them might not come up every month. And then there's the debt obligations, right? Things that you need to pay because you bought them a while ago on credit, or you got a loan so you could have the thing now, but now you have to pay it off in installments. Somebody's mortgage or a car loan. Student loans seem to be a really big one, but credit card debt is also one that I think a lot of people fall into. So the idea is that a budget can help you see all of this, everything that you're spending. It is helpful. It's not a restrictive tool to say you can't spend money. It's looking at how you're spending money, which is the very first step in my mind to building financial independence, is knowing what you spend on, knowing what your expenses are, what you need and what you want. And there are, yeah.
And you guys, I've already asked Chelsea if it's okay to interrupt her, because I'm going to try to be the voice of you too. In debt obligations, do we also add in stuff like our Prime Video account or a Netflix account? Are we adding all of things like that in there as well?
Not in debt. Those are spending items that could be in entertainment, something that is like your monthly subscriptions are actually a really big cost. I know there's actually companies that are like, hey, let us essentially shut down all of the subscriptions that you're not using, because people generally have 3 or 4, I think it is. I don't know the exact number, but they have a number of subscriptions that they've forgotten about, and they're just paying for monthly. And again, you don't need a company to do that for you, to figure out what those are, if you have a budget and can track. And that's where an app comes in, right? That's where using your computer for an Excel spreadsheet or an app. I know people who use Dave Ramsey's free app, and I know other people who use things like YNAB. They love apps. If you're an app person your phone, you're always on it. That's an easy way to track it. There are plenty of other systems. I'm not necessarily recommending any one. Or an Excel sheet where you can really customize and build out all of your own categories to see exactly what you're spending. And other people like paper.
Also do it, on a paper ledger, right? I mean, and I just had a thought. If you are getting in a relationship with somebody, they may have access to your phone, right, or your computer. And so would it make sense to maybe have at least a copy of this as a hard copy on paper somewhere tucked away?
Yeah, I think you could do that. Certainly it would help you to see where you're at, right? The thing with me is that once I realized what I was spending, how I wrote things out, it's like, okay, this is how much I spend on food, and this is how much I need to set aside for rent, or I had that goal. I'm trying to cut back on eating out, and I see that I eat out 4 times or 5 times a month, and maybe that gets you to see, oh, this is how much I'm actually doing, and this is where I want to be. So it's a really powerful tool. And I think once you know what your expenses are, I keep mine kind of in my head. I'm always aware of it, even if I don't have access to it. So getting to the point where it's a habit to look at a budget, or just be very conscious of it, you can make that a habit. And then if for some reason you don't have access, you're aware of what you're spending, you're aware of where your finances are going, because you've got that familiarity with it. So then if you notice things on a statement or happening to your bank account, you immediately know that there needs to be something taken care of.
And so it's not really a way to restrict yourself. I mean, this is just kind of understanding where you are right now, right? So that you can up or down from, if you need to save more, if you need to pay a little more, if you need to tuck a little more away. It's just, so it's not about a value judgment of you as a person when you're doing this. It's just a way it's basically taking your financial temperature.
Exactly. And it is the important first step, because I think we're all surprised. It doesn't matter how financially well off you think you are or how fiscally responsible you are. You'll find something in your budget that surprises you, because you're going to have to write down your spending. You're going to see where it all goes, because many of us don't even think about it. We stop at the gas station 3-4 times a week for that fountain soda, or we stop for that donut every single week. And if you're local, Mountain Donuts, right? Like that's one of my soft spots, is if I pass Mountain Donuts, well, what's their donut of the day? I have to go see, right?
I didn't know if that was a donut joke, because I used to be a police.
I can go there too.
Hey, I see it. There's a question in the chat. It says, how would someone that is in a restrictive situation from a partner play with a budget? And that's one of the things we're going to take on next week, is when if you realize you are in a situation where you're your finances are being restricted, or your access to your friends are being restricted or anything like that. We're going to go into that next week when we talk about somebody who is already in that situation. So
Yeah.
we will get to that. But anyway,
As,
okay, go
and
ahead.
I would say I was going to say into think of that, right? It depends on how restricted the situation is, what the reality you're going to be able to handle this. Because one of the interesting things is that I'll work with clients who have a restriction, and that's that actually their finances are separate, completely separate from their spouses, but their spouse takes on so many things and they take on so many things. So it becomes difficult to get a gauge on how much is actually being spent or where that money's going. And so again, we're going to talk about that a little more next week, but just kind of having a feel that if you have power over some of your own expenses, or have that control, you should get a feel for what you have access to and control over at that moment, because you're not going to be able to control the other person.
And some of that's the free webinar you have, right?
Yeah, we've got some information. So I'll definitely share our Women in Money, our Savvy Women Smart Investors webinar that I did with a coworker at Stratus.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, back to your presentation here.
Yes, and that's how do you make a budget, right? Like, okay, I've tracked my spending, I've built that basic, like this is my budget right now because this is what I'm spending, right? This is what I'm doing. And instead of just spending and then wondering where it all went, now I know, but now I can start adjusting, right? And this is a goal, which is the 50-30-20 rule, or we might call it the 20-30-50 rule if we're going top down, which is that you want to try and make sure you're spending 50% of your income, right? Here's what I'm bringing in, on necessities. This includes a wide range of things that you might not pay for every month, like clothing, your bulk buys, like if you go to Sam's Club or Costco for paper towels, toiletries, those types of things. You have rent, obviously a rent or a mortgage is really big, your utilities, anything that's basic that you need to survive. That includes a car payment, gasoline, or, if you're somewhere where you utilize public transportation, that monthly public transportation cost. Necessities have a wide range, and some people have some that others don't. So being able to say, I absolutely need this to survive, is really, really important to build that. And if you're spending more than 50% of your income, you're going to have to cut back somewhere. And I know nobody likes to hear that, but that 30% wants is where that would come out of, which is, hey, I want to go to the movies. I want that Starbucks 5 times a week. I want to go eat out several times a month with friends or go on dates. I want to take that vacation. Those are wants that we don't need them to survive in the technical sense, but we do need some enjoyment in our life. So cutting out everything is not feasible. And I think that's a really important point here is if you can, right, you need to choose something that you can enjoy, that you put in that 30% wants into your budget. Even if you're cutting back on other things, making sure that thing you love is still there. That's a sanity point, I think, as we all learned in the pandemic. And then that 20% is financial goals, right? This sense that we all have things that we want in the future, whether that is a new home, a new car, a vacation, or, you know what, I saw a nice fancy watch. I want that fancy watch or that fancy ring, but I don't have the money to spend on it right now. So having savings accounts, opening them up, building that for an emergency fund, for just to save. You don't need a reason to save. Just to save is a fantastic choice.
Where would you put that as we're talking about ways to insulate yourself, where would we put the emergency fund that we keep away, that we keep away from maybe our new boyfriend? Where do we keep that tucked away? Does that come in necessities or wants or financial goals? That's our emergency. Don't ever fool with this unless there's an emergency fund.
Yeah, so let me jump back here. That is definitely a financial goal. That's a savings account. So in like if you had your budget sheet, right, that we talked about on that's over there in that spending category, if we built that in, there actually will be in the apps a specific section that will be like, this is what you earn, and then a section for savings. Putting in an emergency account, you can do two things. And I think I've got a slide on this a little later, but you can set up savings accounts with automatic transfers, and you should have a space that you have some emergency like cash on hand. I know that cash is more rare anymore in today's credit card world, but everybody takes cash. Credit cards can be canceled, things can be frozen. Cash isn't frozen, right? Like you can have something solid. So I always make sure that to this day, I have some cash in a special place that I know about, that other people don't know about. And we'll talk a little bit more about what happens when you're in a financially abusive situation and maybe, you know, your spouse or partner has gone through the entire house and knows where something like that would be, how you still can have some cash on hand and keep that safe. But yeah, that would be where we're at. And part of that, right, part of that budget and part of that buildup that we were talking about. So that's the savings end. And the other one is the credit end. People don't think about this, but credit card debt is huge. And
especially if it's got a big, what's the thing called? Interest. If there's a, if it's a high interest card.
Yeah, exactly. And high interest cards are what I call emergencies. If you've got debt on a card that's at 28% interest, which does exist, 24% interest, that's an emergency. That's a fire that needs to be taken care of. And so this sense that we need to get our credit under control. So we're saving, we're setting aside money, and then getting the credit under control is the next step. And so giving you some information about how to care for your credit, right? When we think about credit, we think that all of these things impact our credit score, what you owe on current loans, interest rates on current debt, payment history, length of your credit history and your credit mix, but your current salary actually has nothing to do with your credit score. So it doesn't matter how much money you make, your ability to build a strong financial foundation actually depends on you regularly making payments and having the lower interest rates, making sure that you don't have, you know, your credit card maxed out, or even by the time it hits over half, right? Those on those credit cards, so your credit score goes down because you're to what we call highly leveraged, meaning you've got more debt than you do income. And in order to, right, keep this healthy credit score, we need to be making sure that we're opening credit only when needed, keeping credit card balances low, and setting up automatic payments to pay those bills on time. And this one is a huge prevention one, checking your credit score, right? Again, we mentioned at the beginning of this is that, hey, right, this is something that people do. They'll open up a credit card in your name, and this could be a family member. We act like this could just be, you know, somebody who you're dating or somebody you're married to. But I have seen situations where a parent opens a credit card in the name of the kid and racks up debt while the child's still a minor, right? So you're destroying their ability to get credit before they're even out of the situation. And you see situations where family members do that. Like sisters will do it to each other, or, you know, a friend might do it to you if they had access to your information.
A
To
friend.
open that credit score.
What
Yeah,
thought
a
was a
friend.
friend, right?
And I think the sense is that the more aware you are of what credit cards you have open and what balances are and what that credit score is that you want to be higher and higher, you're going to feel more financially confident and be able to pay attention to those warning signs before it's too late, right? Before we're in the awful situation. And I know that there was a listener who said, you know, victims or people in these situations may just be too scared to do these things. And in this episode, I really want to stress that as prevention measure, right? If we can make somebody confident in their financial, their financial foundation and what they're doing for themselves, they feel empowered to begin with and will recognize what's going on quicker. So that's why we're doing this.
Something that I want, that I want all of you to think about. You know, when I think of a financial planner, I usually think of people moving large amounts of money, you know, people who are doing, you know, wealth, work with their wealth. But that's not the case. A financial planner like Chelsea, for example, can help you, you know, even in these smaller things and how to put programs together. And it's not as expensive as you would think. And a lot of times it's even free to get input from a financial planner that can help you put this stuff together. Even if you're a survivor from something from childhood, that could still cause you to have that fear that, oh, I don't know if I should do this, I could get caught. But a financial planner that you trust and can speak to openly can help you set that up. I mean, I know that Chelsea does a lot of work with clients. They're just asking questions. How do I do this? How does it work? You know, and that's just something she gives as a gift to help people. So don't let it be in your head that a financial planner is something only for the super wealthy or the rich. You really can learn a lot there, and, you know, take the time, connect a financial planner and learn about some of this. And again, if you're not ready for that, we're going to have a post for the seminar that Chelsea has that you certainly have access to. I'm sorry, go ahead, Chelsea.
Oh, yeah. I just wanted, I was going to say, and we talked about this a little bit before, so I can push through it a little quicker, I think. But as people have questions here, certainly keep asking them, and the comments are great. So one of the things is, like, people are afraid to save or feel like they can't save. I can't tell you how many people will come to me who say, you know what, I really want to do this, but I don't know that I can. I feel like I just don't have any way to save, any way to put money aside. And I tell them that really the first thing you should do before you save is pay off that debt. If you really are in that much debt, you need to really sacrifice doing other things and just put as much money as you can to stop that emergency, right? We don't tell people in a fire that they need to go get fire prevention for their home when the fire's already in the home. We, call the fire department and help them put it out. So that's where that first step is. But once you've got that, once you've done that, you need to start making a habit of saving. And those of you who are familiar with how to build habits know that you need to make it easy. You need to make it obvious and something you don't even have to think about, something that, like, it makes sense. I want this. That's obvious. So how do I get it? Well, I save. So there's a number of steps here for prevention that you need to think about to start. And I'm going to also say this is something you can do for your elementary school age children, right? This is something that if you teach financial basics to your kids here in terms of savings account, you're going to help them build that habit early so that they don't have those struggles of learning to save. It's already built in to their daily lives, into their system. So part of that is
first, learn it in school, are they?
Yeah, no, they're not going to learn it in school. You have to take responsibility for this, and even for yourself, right? I don't know, like even in college, that there's many like, let's teach you how to manage your own finances classes, right? So open up a bank account. If you don't have a bank account at a credit union, I would say start at a local credit union, right? Somewhere like that. Open your own bank account up here as a way to build your financial foundation, and set up automatic transfers to each savings account you open. You can open as many savings accounts as you want once you're a member there. So if you have an emergency account, a rainy day fund, you have a mad money, as I like to call it, where it's like I just really have to spend money and I want this thing now, you can pull it out. Vacation fund, it's a bank or a savings account method of essentially the envelope method. And set up, if you want to put $20 a month into each of those accounts, or if you want to put $50, you can put $100 a month into an account. Set up that transfer to go it after you get paid. Your money comes into your bank account, you transfer it, right? That's pretty basic, but a lot of people don't utilize automatic transfer setups. They're not aware of what it is. And then we talked about this, having an emergency stash of cash, safe space you can access, right? People feel worried about doing that. And you can, if you are in a situation where you're worried somebody's going to find that and take it, try and find somebody you trust. Find somebody that's like a friend that's willing to have that space for you. And we'll talk about things like that a little more, spaces that you can have some money stashed to help you out. But yeah, choose a safe space that's easy access, somewhere that you don't have to go out of your way, right, to access it.
Doesn't mean keep it easy to get to, like on the shelf at your house.
Exactly.
Your boyfriend or husband can have access to that, but easy to get to, your best friend from high school who you've known forever can keep it, a roll of dollars tucked away in her apartment somewhere for you, that you can easily get a hold of her and get that money.
Yeah. And I think that's one good way, a sense of like, do I have something that if even, heaven forbid, but even if there's an emergency, it's not a financial abuse situation, we end up in an emergency situation and you don't have access to other things, right? You have access to a roll of cash. You have a system or preparations in place. And once you feel like you've got that habit built, open an investment account. That's the idea, is that you can earn interest, and we'll talk a little bit about compound interest here. So it's essentially a passive income. You can make money off of your money just sitting there. And
we'll jump into that deeper too on day 3, because we're going to talk about how to get your money growing again after something bad has happened. But I mean, it's the very same way you would do it starting off. But yeah, we'll hit that some more on day 3.
Yes,
we're already at a quarter till, Chelsea, but I stretched this out a little bit because I was having challenges with the computer. So we'll keep on going a little bit, but
yeah, I say we can get through and then take questions if there are any, or more questions. Great. And the other thing I'd say is at this point, right, more women are in the workforce than ever. It's likely that somebody coming across this webinar is in the workforce. See if you're your work, if your employer offers retirement benefits, meaning that they have a 401k plan or a simple IRA plan or something similar, and open a retirement account through your work, right? Open it, start contributing to it. It'll come out of your paycheck before you get your paycheck. So it comes out pre-tax, and the earnings on it are tax deferred, meaning you don't pay taxes on it till you take it out of the account, right? And you can set it up that only you have access to the 401k. Nobody else can talk to anybody else about it but you. The same with the investment account. So those are safe spaces that when you're being potentially financially taken advantage of or financially abused, your abuser cannot get access to those funds. They absolutely cannot, unless you actively give them access. So that those are both good spaces for saving. And we can talk about this more on week 3, but this is just showing you how you can put $1,000 in, never put any more money in, and in 40 years, depending on how you invest, you have the potential to make a great rate of return. So even, right, a little bit of money over years can go a long way. It can earn quite a bit. And we can, again, talk about financial planning here on week 3, but it is just to show you or give you a little bit of a teaser is, or just basic information, is that one of the things the budget can help you do, the savings accounts can help you do, the investment accounts, it sets you up so that you're thinking about a year from now, you're thinking about 3 years from now, you're thinking 5 to 10 years from now, here's what I want, right? And you're thinking the long term. And a financial advisor, a financial professional can sit and work with you. And once you have that investment account opened, we are what's called a fiduciary, meaning we have to put your interests right first. We make sure you're taken care of. And if we see a situation where we're seeing some financial abuse, or we're worried about fraud or you being taken advantage of, we have a duty to reach out to a trusted contact to make sure you're okay, to help you. So that's where we as financial advisors can be a resource to make sure that you aren't taken advantage of financially.
Those long-term strategies, I mean, you might not think, well, I'm not worried about that right now, but we're talking about ways to insulate your life financially from an unsavory somebody coming into your life and trying to control that money or trying to control you through your money. And so to think farther ahead down the road is one of those incredibly powerful ways of insulating yourself so that there's something tucked away, like Chelsea's talking about, that nobody else has access to but you. And Chelsea, tell me if I'm right here, but I mean, don't put anybody else on that account. I mean, that should only be yours. I mean, and I don't think that somebody who's trying to be in a relationship with you, if they're pushing to have access to your accounts, something's up. Or if they're trying to prove that you don't love them unless you give them access to your accounts, red flag, right? This is
Absolutely.
about insulating yourself and making sure that that kind of stuff can't happen, and use that red flag to go, hold on, that's not the way relationships work.
Precisely. And there are, even within, the last year, there have been situations where we have essentially started monitoring an account or like checking in on somebody more often because we are concerned about their well-being, because somebody in their life, right? Somebody in our client's life seems to be taking, more or making more of an influence on them, right? Those are things that happen, and we have to be aware of that. We have to report it if it becomes financially abusive. Those are things that there are protections in place for. So yes, you should be able to have independence, your own accounts, and having a system in place where you already have that financial foundation. You already have people you go to for your finances. Those people are there to advise you. Those people are there to help you. And you do not want somebody in your life who's trying to get control of all of that. And that is why there's actually legal protections in place, why accounts are set up the way they are to help protect you from financial abuse.
That's so awesome. I love that as a fiduciary for somebody, you are also looking out for them, not just for their money, but to go, hey, there's a whole lot of withdrawals. And you can get on the phone and go, hey, Sally, is everything okay? I see that there's a lot of withdrawals. Was that you? It's so nice to know that there's somebody else looking out for you, and that it's legally binding that fiduciary does do that for you. That's awesome.
Yeah, I think that it's one of those very important things where I feel like so many of our clients at Stratus are actually our friends, right? Because we're talking, some people only are there for their short-term goals, but most people ask for a financial planner, invest, have this financial foundation for the long term. We are working with people for, we've got a broker in the office who's been doing this for almost 40 years. And he has those relationships that when he started in the 80s, right? Those were his first clients, and they've stayed with him for that entire time, and their kids stay with us, right? So we feel like we know them, they're our friends. We want to make sure they're taken care of, meaning we've built that relationship with you, and that's part of having a quality financial advisor. So take the time to consider that. Take the time to consider what your goals are, and if having, some advisement might be a good thing for you, which I think for many people it is, and it is a great tool. I agree.
And mentioning advisement, Chelsea's here in Utah, but wherever you're listening from, it is okay to contact her. Right, Chelsea?
Yep, it is okay to contact me.
It's all right to contact her and ask her some questions, and I didn't think about this, but how do you want to put your contact information in the chat box or your email or something, and then we can tuck it over onto the Facebook site too, just so that people have
access. Absolutely. You saw I dropped out of the I did drop out of the screen share here, but I can quick pull up because we'll talk about more of investing side of things where we're almost out of time. We'll talk about that in that third. But if you have an interest in contacting me, I'll drop the other contact information in the chat, but you can call me at the 801-917-6397. We can talk. You have to accept, I can text to a certain extent from that number. You have to accept the terms and conditions of texting with somebody affiliated with LPL Financial. And we have a website. You can schedule a Zoom meeting with me online. We have an online scheduling system, so you're more than welcome to meet with me. And we can talk about, what you can do to get ready to, build a stronger financial foundation. There is no obligation to open an account or work with us long term. You're welcome to utilize my advice.
That's so incredible that you're just willing to do that. The website to do that scheduling, what is that?
StratusUtah.com, and I have dropped that in the chat. It's Stratus with just how you see it on the screen here, STRATOS, and then Utah.com. And you can Also, you'll have my email contact there, which is chelsea@stratusutah.com. So
Okay, terrific. And if they go on that site, can they specifically ask to speak to you, since they already
yes,
know you now, and instead of talking to a stranger, they can talk to you?
absolutely. You can talk to me, and there is an online scheduler on my bio, so you can specifically schedule with me. If you would like to as well, we do have 2 other brokers in the office. We all work as a team. Jessica Brooks is a wonderful resource, and Craig Adams. So we've got a really good team, and we all work together to help each other out. And my cat has now made an appearance.
Well, look at there, special guest.
It wouldn't be a live if Kat didn't drop in, would it? That's really why we're all here.
Well, great. I so appreciate you just being willing to put a program together for, all of my community, and for all the women that will watch this live. And hey, not just for women. Hey, dads, this is something to teach your kids too, whether it's your daughter or your son, to help them take care of themselves as well.
Absolutely. The focus here with FemVincible may be women, but I definitely know men who have found themselves in financially abusive situations, and it doesn't change, right? It's still the same tactics. And so getting to where you feel like you have a strong financial foundation, then if all of a sudden your savings is disappearing, or you're not able to save, or you feel restricted in your spending, or somebody's asking for money or limiting your access to it, you're aware of it much quicker.
That's right. Yeah, it's pretty easy for people to forget that men can be abused as well. I mean, there are, there's bad people in every gender and every culture and everything. So although we hear about it mostly about women because it's so common, it happens to every gender. We will go ahead and wrap up, but I just want to remind you, next week, Saturday morning at 9, we're going to start talking a little bit more about how to recognize if you're in an abusive relationship, and how to see what kind of abuse is happening. Because like we mentioned earlier, it's not always physical abuse. It doesn't mean getting hit all the time. There's financial abuse, there's psychological abuse, there's emotional abuse, there's gaslighting, and all types of manipulation. We're not going to go into all of that next week. We're going to focus on financial abuse, but we're still going to talk about that a little bit more. And we'll have a little more time for discussion type talk, since we've got most of the basics out of the way this week. So thank you for being here. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think about this. And if you're leaving a note, and you're watching the recording, let me know that too. And if you have questions that you would like to have answered, pop them in there. Let me know what stories you have. Because remember, when we share our stories, other survivors, other women who are worried, other family members who are worried, get to see that it's not just them. They're not alone by themselves, that it happens to a lot of people. And the thing that helped you may end up helping somebody you don't even know, because they read your comments and learned something. So Chelsea, thanks for being here. Thank you everybody for showing up, and thank you to my wonderful wife Penny for helping me moderate in the chats. And we will see you next week, Saturday morning, 9 o'clock Mountain. Thank you everybody. Thank you, Chelsea.
For having me.
Facebook, everybody, take care on Facebook, and if you're on the Zoom, which you will be next week, right? We'll see you then. Take care. This has been a production of LabCalf LLC and FemVincible.com.